Well, before the break, we saw part 2 of our series, Outsourced Silicon Valley Students in India. And joining me today are some of those students. We have Manasai, Amit, Indira, and Tess. And Tess, I'd like to start with you. You know, along with globalization and the tech growth that we saw in India, we also had to deal with some difficult realities. And you came home and put together a website, kind of prompted to action. Tell me a little bit about what this website is.
So I made a very simple website that is just a way to raise awareness and support for Dalit issues. And Dalits make up about 1/5 of India's population.
Now, Dalits are something we didn't really get into in the pieces because it's kind of a larger issue, but basically a class of people that fall outside of the traditional caste system in India. And we saw them living in some very difficult conditions.
Very much so. So this website is just a way that people can become more aware and show support. I've linked to very good, well-established organizations that are able to directly influence and help stop the discrimination of Dalits.
So links to some other websites, so if viewers at home are motivated by the pieces that they've seen here, they can go to your website and find out how they can actually take action and learn more about the culture.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, well, thanks so much for doing that. I'm always so impressed with what these students kind of come away with from this journey. Another one of the students that we traveled with, Manasai, you were featured in the piece. And in the piece, you mentioned that, you know, you were born in India and you've traveled back on many occasions. But this experience, not going with your family, but going with us in kind of a different context, left you with a different view. Tell me a little bit about how your perspective, or at least your view, of the country and the culture changed.
Well, growing up, I had a different perspective of what it was to be in India. And it's kind of like having a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle and using 400 pieces to look at the big picture. And now, after going to India this time, I realized that there are 100 extra pieces that I have, and I can actually use them to look at the bigger picture. And so through this experience, I realized that, you know, there are things that I overlook in just my daily life that I've never paid attention to with my family, but going with these group of students is a wonderful way to look at everything with a new set of eyes.
Do you find that that translated even back home, that we tend to kind of overlook things in our daily lives that we might not otherwise see? And
Definitely. I think anywhere you are, you tend to do that.
so, Amit, how about you? You had spent some time in India as well with your family and kind of went with one perspective. Last week we talked to students who were very American students and had no cultural experience with India. So I'm really interested to find out how your view changed, having already gone with a preconceived idea of what the country was.
Well, at home I hear all these things about globalization and poverty, and, you know, you hear these things on the radio too, but going to India really opened me up to, like, this is a reality not only for us, and it doesn't just affect us, but it affects people in India as well.
And did you come home with stories for your family, telling them about things you saw that maybe they hadn't seen and they'd been there so many times?
Well, my parents sort of grew up in India, so they did get to see a lot of it. But whenever I went to India, they would sort of keep me away from all that. And now, as I got to go by myself, I got to see all of that from a different perspective.
And Indira, you know, when we were there, we did see a lot of the poverty, but we also saw and experienced such a rich culture, this growing tech industry. I mean, so many amazing things about this beautiful country. What inspired you the most about the trip?
You know, I really found the trip to be, you know, more than just teaching us. It taught us, you know, hope. Like, a lot of what we saw people who were at the bottom of the bottom, and they just climbed their way to what they could perceive as the top, and what I can see as the top right now. And it was just beautiful to see how, like, especially when we went to the Dalit slums, how, you know, they promoted their own ideas in a system that is not meant to, you know, for those kind of people to a degree. So it was really inspiring to be there. And you know,
well, I must say, I have been inspired by spending time with all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today, and thanks for letting me tag along on this incredible journey. I have absolutely been changed by experiencing it with you guys. It's been a pleasure. So thanks so much, students of Archbishop Mitty High School.